Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Coach Oliver once again. Welcome to the finals of the FIDE Grand Prix 2022 in Berlin, Germany. This is game number one between Levon Aronian and his fellow American Hikaru Nakamura. All right, let's go. Sago. Started with e4. Nakamura went for e4. Aronian with his pet e5. Knight into f3. Knight c6. We have a Roy Lopez with bishop b5. a6, bishop a4, a4, knight into f6, castles. At least we are avoiding the Berlin this time, yeah. Bishop into e7, rook into e1, b5, bishop b3, castles, and then h3. Okay. Bishop to b7, d3. So we have with d3 and then d6, we have the Roy Lopez close, yeah. A3 was played by Nakamura, although A4 was also a possible line here. Okay, that's also a possibility. A4, knight A5, and then bishop A2, C5. All right. Okay, so he went for A3, queen to D7, knight C3, knight D8. Aronian repositions his knight to D8, going into E6. And with the knight on e6, potentially he has the control of d4 and f4. In the game, Hikaru went for knight into h2. Okay, in one of Aronian's games with this line, he had a beautiful game here against Victor Bologan. In that game, Bologan went for knight into e2. Okay, Aronian went for knight e6. Knight g3, g6, controlling f5. c3, c5. Bologan breaks the center with d4, c4. Bishop into c7. Bishop into c2, queen to c7, moving out of that pin, protecting also e5, yeah. Bishop into e3, a5, d2, a4, fixing the pawn. Once you keep that dark square bishop in the end game, that b2, c3, and a3 is the target, yeah. Knight into g5, knight e8. Takes, bishop h6, rook f7, knight into e2, knight f6, queen e3, knight h5, g4, back to f6. And then here, Bologan blundered with f3, Aronian strikes the middle with d5, yeah? D takes e5, and then another beautiful sacrifice here by Aronian with d takes e4. The main point being, if let's say e takes an f6, he has bishop c5, and if the knight goes to d4, he has queen g3 check. King goes back to f1, for example. E takes f3, threatening mate on g2. If the queen goes back to f2, queen takes h3, king into g1, and then rook takes f6, or you can also go for bishop d6, right? So Bologan went for takes on e4, knight into d7, hitting e5, knight e4, knight e5, rook f1 takes, knight f7, getting rid of that annoying bishop on h6. Knight takes h6, queen takes queen e5, hitting e4. Knight f3, takes, one pawn up. Queen c2 check, one pawn, takes. King e8. Let's go straight to the critical moment here. Rook d3, rook d5, e5, king c6, rook d5, rook f5 check. Okay, king d5, e5, rook f4, attacking the knight, knight f2, bishop into d6, threatening e4, king, bishop c7. You cannot play e4 here because there's a rook takes d6 as a trick, and then king takes f4. So bishop c7, rook f2, rook f5, e4 check, king g2, rook f4, knight f2, rook takes h4. Now, here, if let's say knight takes e4, for example, black has rook h2. If you play king f3, rook takes e2, takes on e2, and then bishop f4. That was the point of a4 earlier in the game, yep, with the idea of bishop to c1 and then b2. Same time is also attacking g5. So a couple of times Aronian played this Roy Lopez close, especially with queen d7, knight e8, yeah. So this is his bet line. Okay, going back to the Nakamura's game. Okay, instead of knight into e2, Nakamura went for knight h2. So the same, knight e6, knight in g4, king h8, takes, queen g4, rook a e8, a4, b4, knight e2. Nakamura could also play knight d5 here, and then bishop d8. Yep. Nice retreat with the bishop. And then if let's say you play a5, there's g6 and then f5. I prefer black's position here, by the way. If let's say bishop h6 and f5, yeah. And black is fine. Okay, so knight e2, queen d8, moving out of the pin on d7. c3 takes, pawn takes on c3, g6, bishop d5 takes, knight c5, hitting d3. Nakamura, being a tricky player, he went for bishop h6. Yeah. Knight takes d3, takes on f8, knight takes e1, rook takes e1. All right, here white sacrifice a pawn. After takes on f8, queen c4. You sacrifice a pawn for activity. You know, the queen is attacking a6. It's also hitting on c7. Aronan went for queen a8. The idea is that if queen takes c7, there's queen takes d5. Okay, rook to b1, control of the open file. Rook to b8, rook b4, nice move. King g7. Although it was also possible for Aronian to play a5 here. I guess this could have been a different result if he played a5. It could have been. Okay, the main thing here is that if rook b5 you take, you cannot take with the pawn, of course, right? Because this pawn will just go all the way. Yeah. So only move here after rook b5, rook takes b5 would be queen takes b5. And then king g7. This is different from what happened in the game. Yeah. Because if let's say you play knight g3 going into e4, bishop h4, knight e4, and then f5. Right. Although there are some chances for perpetual with queen d7. Okay, let's say queen d7 here, king h6, yeah? Or maybe here g3 first. Takes on e4, takes on h4. Maybe some queen d7 threats, yeah, queen, maybe still equal. So king g7, knight g3, h5, knight e4, bishop d8, protecting c7, a5, queen a7, g3, I like this move, f5, knight e2, takes on b4, c takes b4, e4, opening the line for the bishop, knight into b3, bishop f6, king g2, h4, nice move by Aronian. Okay, after h4, it's breaking the pawn structure. Kiss king f7, h5, good move also by Naka, breaking the chain. Takes on h5, b5, E3, F4. Of course, you don't take on E3, right? The queen will be active even if you take this C7 pawn, just king G6. This is going to be a bad king. The queen is attacking also the B3 knight. Yes, sorry. All right, a 4. Queen to B8, threatening queen G8 here. Yeah. King F1 takes on B5. Queen C6. Both players here are very low on time, but they found this only moves. Yeah. E2 was played. King takes E2. Queen A7. A6. Okay, Nakamura's pawn looks very dangerous. It's 2 steps away from promotion, yes? 2 steps away. Queen G1. Alright. That king is so vulnerable. The knight is far away from the king. Queen takes C7, check, king G6. Knight goes beside. Queen H2. King D1. Queen takes F4. White looks winning because the knight is beside the king, yeah? A7. It looks dangerous now, yeah? But nice queen, protecting d6. No queen takes d6 check. Bishop g5, battery. Queen a5, protecting the knight on d2. Good move. Blocking the queen from defending the knight. Queen a2. Nice move once again. That's why these players are pretty strong and they're very resourceful. Queen a5, back again to protect the knight on d2. Queen e3. Wow, Aronian found this only move, huh? A8 promotion, Queen G1. Okay, if the king, for example, goes to E2, there's Queen E3 check. You go to F1, for example, here. Queen D3 check. King has nowhere to hide, unfortunately. If you go King F2, for example, there's Bishop H4 check. You go King G2, Queen E2 check. King H1, Queen E1, yeah? Queen E1, Queen F2, Queen E1, Queen F2. OMG. Resourcefulness. All right, King to D1, Queen G1, check, King E2, Queen E3. Although this is a drawn game, but the resources were pretty unbelievable. Yeah, pretty amazing. That's why they are the elite of the game, yeah? They're the elites. Nakamura is also very tricky. Yeah? He was a pawn down. Although, okay, pawn down, but he has a more active knight than the bishop. And also he has this important a pawn. Yeah. The difference was Aronians allowing Naka to play that pawn on a5. I think the big difference was here. Yeah. If Aronian inserted a5 here, it could have been different. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? You'll never know. Although Nakamura being also a very resourceful player, he could find a way to draw here, but a pawn is always a pawn, yeah? Again, rook to b5, takes on b5. If a takes its pawn, if queen takes b5, only then you go king g7. Knight to g3, bishop h4, and then f5, yep. This could have been different. But anyway, it was a pretty nice draw. Exciting draw. Some draws are very boring. I like also the characters of these two players. They're both enterprising, Aronian and Nakamura. They're both very tricky. And now they play for the same flag, the American flag. All right, that was game number 1 of the finals. Thank you guys for watching. We will continue our coverage of game number 2 who is going to win the FIDE Grand Prix in Berlin? We'll find out tomorrow. This is Coach Oliver. Stay safe, everyone. Bye bye.